Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey, right here on the Dice Tower. Today we're going to be taking a look at Indiana Jones Sands of Adventure. This is a game that was designed by Prospero, put out by Funko Games. Let's get down to the table and see what we've got on our hands. Alright, so here I have a 4-player game of Sands of Adventure set up for you, and basically what everybody's going to be doing is they're going to first of all choose a character, take their miniature, and draw a number of cards equal to 4, unless you're Marion Ravenwood. She gets to draw a number of 6 cards to start their hand, but once you draw your cards, if you have any snakes, like that one right there, if you have any stakes, you have to discard it in the snake discard pile, and you don't get to replace it. Now, the game is going to be played over 3 rounds, denoted by the Ark of the Covenant right here, and each round is going to be split up into 2 phases. The first phase is the exploration phase, where characters are going to be able to move between these different sites, do what the sites are telling it to do, and roll threat dice, which could possibly add gems to the basket up here at the top of the sand timer, or it could activate the villain, and the villain's going to be moving from left to right across as he goes there, and then if any people are in here, there's going to be an effect that gets activated on that person's card. So you definitely don't want to be in a space that the villain moves to during the course of a round. At any time during the exploration phase, this sand timer flips over and begins to drain its sand. Then the timed phase happens, and this is where you are basically racing against the clock to defeat the villain before the sand runs out. By playing cards out of your hand, attack cards are going to be making the villain lose health, and you want to have the health cube get all the way down to the skull before the sand timer runs out. At the end of the 3rd round, if you have not defeated Renee Belloc, then you've lost, and he's gotten away with the Ark of the Covenant. In the exploration phase, starting with the expedition leader, they're going to be able to choose what location they want to go to, but they can never go to the location where the villain is. So you can basically go here if you wish, and when you go to a location, you simply do what the location says. It says draw 2 action cards, and you may play a card. So Indy would draw 2 cards like so, and then he would be able to play a card out of his hand. Now, since the location allows him to play a card out of his hand, this is one of the only ways that you're able to do damage to your villain during the exploration phase. So maybe he'll go ahead and just play this fight card from Marcus Brody, and that will make the health cube move down 1 on the villain. But after he's done the special text of the location, now he has to roll the threat dice. So he'll take 1 die, since it's denoted here by only rolling 1 die, and he rolls that, and that activates the villain. So he will move here. If there are any good guys over here, then his special ability will fire off, but there isn't, so Indy is okay. And that's the end of Indiana Jones's turn. And then we go to Salah's turn, and he can basically do the same thing. He wants to choose to go over here and roll the power token, or gain a power token. These power tokens over here can be played during the timed phase to basically do different things. So first of all, this will help you to ignore a snake card. Snake cards are pretty bad. Interrupt. You can interrupt the current player's turn to play a card. This one says you can play any card, so you don't have to follow the suit or the objects that are there if you play this card first. So Salah's going to simply gain this play any card power token, and that's something that he has the ability to do. When he wants to use it, he will simply flip it over to this side, and then at the beginning of the next round, he'll be able to flip it over and use it again. Once you take a power token, you have it for the rest of the game, so that's pretty cool. Now, Sala has to roll 2 threat dice, but his special ability is that Sala only rolls 1 threat die on his turn, whether it says to roll 2 or not. So he'll go ahead and roll his threat die, and it was add a small gem to the basket. So that's going to go right in there, and that's the end of Sala's turn. We go over to Marcus Brody, and Marcus wants to go to, let's see here, draw any number of upgrade cards. If you draw 2 with the same color, bury all cards drawn this turn. So this upgrade cards are basically the same as the action cards, but they're better, they're more versatile. Each of the action cards have 1 symbol and 1 color. The upgrade cards will have an extra either color or symbol that you can use. So we're going to go ahead and draw this card, and it says if it has the draw 2 with the same color, bury the cards you drew this turn. So when you have to bury cards, they basically go into the action deck, and they go face down on the bottom of the action deck like so. So that's kind of sucks, but those are in there now, so that's also kind of good. Now Marcus will have to roll 2 threat dice. Oh man, he moves 1, 2, and now since Marcus Brody is there, it says move right. Each player there must bury a random card from their hand. So that kind of stinks. So everybody here must bury a random card from their hand. We're just going to take this one right here, and it goes face down at the bottom of the action deck like that. Now Marion is here, and she is going to choose to go to draw an action card and an upgrade card like so. And these are added to her hand. Now she has to roll 2 dice, and you have to add a small and a large into the basket at the top of the thing. So this is how it would basically continue until this one tips over like so, and the sand begins to run out. Now what happens here is that starting with the current player, they're going to be able to start playing cards out of their hand in order to get some attacks, hopefully. So what's going to happen? So we're going to basically go, whenever you're playing cards, you have to follow the suit of the color or the item. So I can play this blue hat on top of that, and now because I have a hat there, I can play another attack card, and that makes him move down 1. And now I can continue playing if I want to, but I don't want to because I'm out. So I can go, no, somebody else go now. Now Indiana Jones is going to be able to go, and oh goodness, he doesn't really have anything good at all. So he's going to say, nope, not going to help. Now we come over here to Sala. Sala, does he have any? Yes, we can go fight, boom, and another fight because the background is matching. And boom, and so forth and so on. So you're trying to continually play as fast as you can to knock down these, but you still have to follow the suits and the rules for being able to play cards. And if you can get this token down to the skull, then you've defeated. But if you don't, if you're not able to do that, let's say you just barely missed and you got Colonel Dietrich down to the last row. He has 3 health left, though. What's going to happen here is you're going to empty out all of the gems from the basket. That's not going to worry anymore. But next round, you're going to start with whatever this row says. So next round starts with a small gem already in it. This goes to round 2. Colonel Dietrich is removed from the game. Major Toth is entering into. Everybody takes their people back. One of the locations can be swapped out with one of the other locations. So maybe we want to switch out the airfield fisticuffs and go to the Well of Souls. And instead of drawing an action card and an upgrade card, you draw an upgrade card and gain a power token, activate the villain. So a little bit better, but you're not rolling 2 threat dice, you're only rolling 1. So maybe it's a little bit of a better choice. Once that's been done, everybody's going to take the cards that are in their hand, the cards that are here, and the cards that are in the snake pile and the action deck. You're going to shuffle everything together and start with brand new starting hands. Then you continue going on. And again, that's how the round resets. But as I said, the game goes for 3 rounds. If you don't defeat Renee Belloc by the end of the 3rd round, you have lost. So that's about that for Indiana Jones Sands of Adventure. I think you have a pretty good idea of how the game plays. The exploration phase is pretty procedural, with each player taking turns in a very quick fashion, frankly. And then the time phase is a little bit more chaotic. It's very feels very rushed. It feels very stressful, I guess you could say. And it's full of anxiety, I guess you could say as well, because it is time. You are working against the sand timer. You are rushed, having to make decisions quickly and that kind of stuff. So it kind of has a couple of different feels based upon what phase of the game that you're in. But the exploration phase does give you a little bit of a rest, because those timed real-time phases can be pretty stressful if you're somebody like me. If not, then you're all in for that kind of stuff, and I totally understand that. I do think that it was very well designed from a thematic point of view, whereas I did not feel like I was Indiana Jones, or I was Marcus Brody, or I was Marion Ravenwood. It doesn't carry that much theme to it. The situation and the need to do things properly and in the right order and that type of stuff definitely came through in a number of different ways. Being careful about what location you're going to, and making sure that we try to make sure that the enemy doesn't activate, or the villain doesn't activate where we are, so that it hurts us more. Those kinds of things worked in well. Being able to play cards, matching the symbols or the colors, getting those upgrade cards, those are all things that are super important. And while they are not thematic mechanisms in and of themselves, they congeal into a rather thematic experience. So I thought that was a cool thing. My first pro of the game is quite simply, and if you thought that I was going to skate on this particular pro, you're very wrong. The component quality is pretty outstanding, especially for the level of game that it is. This is not what one would call, I guess, an expert game or a gamer's game. This is definitely in that Funko Games universe, where you're really targeting families and not gamers. And the component quality for this was pretty well done. And that's even taking into account and comparing it to the other games that are in the Funko Games arsenal, so to speak. The sand timer, while pretty overwrought, is really cool. And I have to say that that's a really neat mechanism. And to turn that sand timer into a kind of dexterity game, gimmicky type thing, that was a cool idea. Now, it is a gimmick. Could you do some other thing where it will flip the timer at a certain time if something else happens in the game? Sure, they could have designed that into the game. But using this sand timer and in this way where you have to add things to the basket, and at some point it's going to flip on you like that, that's just really cool to me. The other components in the game, the power tiles are real nice and chonky. The player cards are a little flimsy for me, so that is a little bit of a strike in the component, but everything else in the dice. The dice are really chunky. I love these gems that they use in a number of different games. So when games use these gems, I'm really kind of happy about that. So everything in the game, the card stock as well, the location tiles are nice, thick, and chunky. Even the standees, while, let's face it, they're just standees. They could have sprung for 3 more minis, I think, but I get it. There's a little bit of differentiation there between villain and hero. Heroes get the minis, villains get the standees. I get it. But I would have liked to have had just 3 more minis in the game, but that is what it is. Overall, though, the component quality is a solid pro for me. My second pro of the game is the fact that it doesn't really overstay its welcome. All of the phases go pretty quickly. Even the time phase goes fast, and while it is pretty stressful, it's not stressful for too long. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and that stress is broken up by the relative ease of the exploration phase. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to do well in the exploration phase. I'm just saying that it's not as stressful as the time phase. So that's why I just mentioned that, because I think the game flows quickly, and each round doesn't take a long time to play. And even though you may not defeat that first guy or the second guy even, you must defeat Belloc. And if you don't, you lose the game. You can whiff on the other 2, but you can't whiff on Belloc. And that's pretty cool. I like that, because even if you do not as well in the first round or even the second round, you still have that hope that you're going to be able to knock out that enemy on the third round and pull out a win. So I like that a lot, and I like how it flows well. My third pro of the game was kind of touched on with my second pro there at the tail end, and that is that you never feel like you have no hope of winning. There's always the hope that you're going to be able to pull out a win, because even if you fail on one of the other villains, you can still do well with the next one. Now, there is the caveat there that if you fail with the with a villain, then you're going to basically seed the basket for the sand timer with more gems. That's bad, but it makes it a little bit harder to do well on that villain. But you are putting those upgrade cards into the action deck as you go through. So when you're drawing action cards, you may be getting an upgrade card. And then, of course, when you draw from the upgrade card deck, you'll get more upgrade cards there. And upgrade cards are easier to use, and so forth and so on. So as the game goes along, you still have that hope that you're going to be okay, that everything's going to be able to be pulled out in the end. And I like that about the game. And my fourth pro of the game, and this one is a little bit of a smaller one, because I wish they would have gone a little bit further with it, but I do like that each of the heroes has their own little special ability. Marion can have 6 cards at the beginning of each round. Marcus starts the game with a power token of his choice. That's pretty cool. Sala only ever has to roll 1 of the threat dice, no matter what the location, if the location tells him to roll 2. And then Indiana can move to the same adventure tile as the villain. So that's a pretty cool thing as well, because normally the tile that the villain is on is off limits. So I like the fact that everybody has their own little special thing that they can do, but I wish they would have gone a little bit further. But I still like the fact that everybody's different from everybody else. We're not just that hero by name only. We have something that we can do that nobody else can do, and I like those variable player powers. I just wish there had been more than just these kind of surface level powers that they were given. But I do like it, so it's a pro. Now, as far as cons are concerned for the game, the really the biggest con for me is the fact that it has a real-time phase where cards have to be played and you're playing against a real sand timer that is clicking down right in front of you. It's a super stressful thing for me personally, and even though it's broken up by those exploration phases and the time phase doesn't last that long, it's still a con for me. I would have much rather had some other kind of mechanism thrown in there that will make it you have to do it before this certain thing happens, and if you don't, then you can't defeat the villain. I would have rather had some other kind of mechanism in there, almost any other kind of mechanism, than a real-time phase. I like the tension that it adds to the game, but it doesn't add the right kind of tension to the game for me. So it's a con. Now, it doesn't mean that I dislike the game. You'll find out with my rating here in a little bit. But this one phase really is the hardest hitting con of the game for me. My second con of the game, and really this is a little bit of a smaller one because I do like how people have to work together with this mechanism of playing the cards and having to match either the color or the symbol. I do like how that cooperation has to work out, but the con for me is that it puts a lot of stock in what cards people have in their hands. And if we just don't have the right cards in our hands, then we're stuck and there's nothing we can really do about that. And you might say, well, then you should have traveled, you should have been careful, you should have traveled to better locations, you should have been more careful when you put the gems in the thing so that you had more time and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I get it. But I still don't like having to match symbols and colors or what have you. I wish there would have been a little bit more freedom somehow because frankly, Belloc has 15 health. That means you've got to hit that guy 15 times before this runs out. That's really hard. Now, I understand. A game needs to be challenging. But man, that just seems a little heavy-handed. I just wish there would have been some other kind of thing. Having more upgrade cards is an absolute necessity. You have to have a lot of upgrade cards in order to do well, and I get that, but man, I wish there was something else in there that made it a little bit more user-friendly, but it is what it is. So all in all, my rating of Indiana Jones Sands of Adventure is still going to be a 7. If it didn't have a timed phase, I think, and some other kind of mechanism was in there where we weren't racing against literal time itself, maybe I would probably put it up around an 8, maybe even an 8.5. I really enjoy this theme, and I really enjoy a lot about the game, but that time phase really knocks it down for me. I'll still enjoy playing it. I'll still really have a good time playing it with those when it hits the table, with those other players. But it's just a 7 for me. So it's still a thumb up if you're from the flip side, but a 7 out of 10 for me here on the Dice Tower. That is that for Indiana Jones Sands of Adventure. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.